Hello and welcome to the Investigamer, the show where we don't just play the games, we explore them. And today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the one that started it all, really. Today we're going to be looking at the game that made your dad say, "Hey, is that another one of those Space Invaders things?" and your mum say, "Hey, why is that man the colour of sewage?" That's right, today we're looking at Super Mario Bros. For the NES. Come back in time with me to the early 80s, a time where decisions made by Atari caused the video game crash of 1983 in North America. The video game scene was in dire straits. Not those ones. Nintendo saw this happen and took steps to prevent their success with the Famicom falling into the Atari sinkhole. Step 1 was to immediately rebrand their Famicom video game system as the Nintendo Entertainment System. Step 2 was releasing an add-on for the Nintendo Entertainment System in the guise of Rob, the robotic operating buddy, to further separate the NES from the failing video game industry. The final step was a step they didn't realise they were taking. Nintendo released a game that was to be a grand culmination, the creme de la creme, truly the dog's bollocks of what the Famicom team had learned over their 3 years of production. This game was to be later known as Super Mario Bros. In case you've been living as a Sherpa in the Himalayas, Super Mario Bros. Was the brainchild of then nobody, now Nintendo somebody, Shigeru Miyamoto. Miyamoto would also go on to create The Legend of Zelda for the NES the following year, his first wholly original game for Nintendo's home console. Super Mario Bros. Went on to sell just over 40 million copies on the NES to date, releasing in late 1985 in Japan and North America. Following this huge success, Nintendo made the smart choice to release the game to a wider market, this market being Europe and Australia 2 years later in 1987. Because I mean, come on, nothing says product confidence like a 2-year gap. In the magical land of the Mushroom Kingdom, a princess named Toadstool lived on her lonesome. When all of a sudden, as quick as a flash, the Koopa King Bowser attacked all loud and brash. With magical powers, he transformed the mushroom people, bricks, stones, horsehair plants, this act of war illegal. He kidnapped the princess and away he flew, so it fell to a plumber clad in red and blue. This hero travelled throughout the land, destroying the forces under Bowser's command. Our hero finally finds the king's stronghold. He stood before him all super and bold. A fight broke out, our hero struck an axe, which swung with such force it caused the bridge to collapse. And there he stood before the princess. She let out a smile, no longer in distress. "Thank you, Mario, your quest is over. We present you a new quest. Push button B to select a new world." What an ending! A real M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong twist. Once you've completed this slog of a game, your prize is to, well, go and do it all again. This game truly is the story of 3 men and an NES cartridge, with the game being designed by the aforementioned Big Shiggy M, but enter stage left fellow designer who worked on the project, Takashi Tezuka, along with the one who made it all possible, Toshihiko Nakago of SRD, who programmed a large majority of the game. Super Mario Bros. Was designed as a spiritual successor to the original 1983 arcade game, Mario Bros. This game took place on a single screen, with a few simple coloured assets on the background, more void of life than my teenage sex life. The Big M wanted his new Mario Bros. To not be this. They took this design template, screwed it up, threw it in the trash. In its place, a vibrant new colour palette was installed with a bright bluey purple sky, background details such as green hills and bushes, white clouds, and a flashy new Mario to boot. Single screens were out, and in came a scrolling screen allowing for longer platforming levels to be designed. On these levels, larger characters were able to be shown on screen. Development for The Legend of Zelda was also being carried out by Shiggy and the team alongside Super Mario Bros. Therefore, many assets in the games were shared between the two projects. Most notably of which are the firebar objects that can be seen in Mario Bros. Castle levels. These originally began life in The Legend of Zelda's development cycle. This version of Mario initially started out life as a 16x32 prototype pixel block, and it wasn't until after they had seen the sales figures of Mario Bros. That Tezuka suggested they use the titular character. From there on in, the world of Super Mario Bros. Was developed, and you know what they say, to make a Bowser, you have to crack a few ox, right? Well, Bowser started off life as an ox, inspired by the Ox King from the film Alakazam the Great, until Tezuka decided he looked more like a turtle. He and Shiggy Stardust redesigned the character, and the Bowser we all know and love was born. Koji Kondo was brought in to do the music for Super Mario Bros. Up till this point, all music for games was meant to act as an advertisement for the game and not to serve it in any deeper fashion. Kondo came into the project with two goals in mind. He wanted to convey an unambiguous sonic image of the game world, which is a rad thing to say out loud. His second goal was to enhance the emotional and physical experience of the gamer. To do this, Kondo was part of the production team from the beginning, working alongside Shiggy and the gang to coordinate the music to the various sprite movements in the game. As I said earlier, Super Mario Bros. Was seen by many within the company as a last hurrah for the NES in its current state, due to the changing landscape of video game production moving away from outdated cartridge-based systems to a newer, slicker, all-round sexier disc-based system in the form of the Famicom Disk System. The NES cartridges that Super Mario Bros. Was developed on only had 256 kilobits of space for program code and data, and a further 64 kilobits of space was used for sprite and background graphics. For context, Super Mario Odyssey has a file size on the Switch of 5.6 gigabytes, which is tiny for today's standards. Looking at you, Warzone. For scale, however, you can fit a little over 170,898 copies of Super Mario Bros. Into the Odyssey file size. In order to save space on the cartridge, a number of space-saving shortcuts were taken. The well-known trick was to take the sprites for the hedges in the background, colour them in white and put them in the sky, et voila! You now have clouds in the game. The implementation of the Goombas was another example of this space-saving exercise. Instead of creating a series of sprites to make them look like they were walking, they instead created a single static sprite and flipped it horizontally over and over to give it the visible effect of walking. Other shortcuts were taken in the game's audio department too. The sound that plays when Mario takes a hit is the same sound as Mario going down a pipe, and the sound that you hear after jumping on an enemy is the same one you hear every time Mario takes a swimming stroke. So, does Super Mario Bros. Hold up today? Or has it festered horribly like that skid-marked pair of pants that have been sitting in the corner of your room since April, because COVID's here now and you're not going anywhere tomorrow, and you'll get round to it eventually? No? Just me. I'm only joking. They've only been there since July. Well, to be fair, the game still plays and handles fairly well. Every input is immediate, and one thing I favour in this game over other 2D platformers is the speed. The speed in this game, for lack of a better term, is average. Seriously, this game's move speed for me is absolutely average. Too many games have a move speed that is either far too quick for me so I can't see what's coming and before I know it I'm impaled, or I'm moving just too slow and it infuriates the fuck out of me. Like, seriously, I'm supposed to be a state-of-the-art super soldier. Why in the name of all that's Bob Ross do I move like a damn pensioner? But Super Mario Bros. Doesn't have either of those effects on me. I play this game and I don't get frustrated at all at the speed. It's painfully, perfectly average. One other thing I love about the game is how much it rewards you to explore. Given that the levels are all presented as a big long corridor stretching from left to right, you'd be forgiven for thinking that charging ahead as quick as possible would be the best course of action, when in actual fact, if you jump up here, you can charge all the way to the end without any obstacles in the way. And look at that, your reward for jumping around the entire level is to get to choose a world to jump forward to. The controls are showing their age though. I can't express how done I am with missing a jump over a pit. So there I am, gonna make a big jump, but because I pressed the jump button fractions before the sprinting button, BAM! One-way trip to the bottom of Pittsville. I know this is just a sign of age on the game's part, but judging it today, this is a flaw that catches me out over and over and over again. And I gotta be fair, I don't care for it. But that's really the only gripe I have, issues with inputs. But really that issue falls partly into a user error category, so I'm fairly happy to say that this game has no real flaws. And there we have it, Super Mario Bros. From sketch to star. Now I believe it's fair to say that this game has held up very well over the years. It still handles and plays very well. The music is as iconic and as implanted in popular culture as it ever has been, and it has a story. At the end of the day, despite being very, very basic, it has a story. Super Mario Bros. Revitalised an industry that was massively losing favour with the public at the time. And for that reason, I believe it deserves every inch of praise that it gets. Sure, it has its sore points, but I'm 10 years younger and I've got far more aches and pains than this game ever does. So, since giving it the once over, I believe it's fair to say that this game is perfect. But that doesn't mean it's the best. Like, I have way more games that I prefer to Super Mario Bros. But if you're wanting a textbook video game to play from start to finish, Super Mario Bros. Is for you. No questions asked.